Hi, babe. Welcome to the Horror Babe Show. I'm your host, Chelsea Beller. Well, I think it's about time we flash back to 2009 for more reasons than one. Low-rise pants, velvet track suits, black-eyed peas. Come on. What a time to be alive. But more importantly to this episode, the year The Collector came out. As you may know, if you've been following me, virtually, not physically. Come on now, that's rude. If you've been following me, you might know I spent the last week of October in Provo, Utah at FilmQuest. Well, I've been up to my eyeballs in filmmaker interviews, and I decided to come up for air and do a horror movie review because that's my especiality. Side note, if I sound a little nasally, it's because I've had allergies ever since I got back to LA from Utah. It's fun. It's real fun. We love allergies. They're great. I recently asked one of my Patreon members if they had a suggestion for an upcoming Horror Babe episode. And they said they had just watched The Collector and The Collection, and they wanted to know my thoughts. This is just a taste of what happens when you become a Patreon member. So here we are, my unapologetic review of The Collector and The Collection. It's time to collect. I'm sorry. The Collector focuses on a man named Arkin, a construction worker by day, thief by night. His wife owes some serious, nasty loan sharks, and he promises he will get her the money by midnight. He needs to support his wife and his daughter. He's a good dad, so he's gonna steal some shit in order to make this happen. You know what? I appreciate that. He's willing to go the mile, you know? He's a good dad. He's a good dad. He's a good provider. So he sneaks into this house that he's been doing construction on. He obviously knows it very well. He's been casing the place, as they say, in hopes of retrieving the Sorcerer's Stone. No, of course, it's not actually the Sorcerer's Stone. It just, it looks like it to me. He's right in the middle of thieving. Not very well, by the way. He says he's a pro, but I don't really see it. When he hears someone else in the house, the collector is here to collect. Not the stone that he's there for, but the people who live there. This wealthy family was supposed to go on vacation, but apparently he got to them before they got to the Bahamas. This is where the film becomes a cross-section of Home Alone and Saw. However, instead of the protagonist setting traps for the antagonist, it's the other way around. And the traps are bad. Oof, bad. This guy had every possible nook and cranny rigged. I don't know how he did it. How much time did this guy have? Arkin was just there during the day. And then he comes back at some point before midnight. I'm assuming, 9? 8? I don't know how he rigged this entire house in such a short amount of time. And he, predicted what the family members were gonna do and where they were gonna go, and I don't know, movie magic, right? This cat and mouse game gets real rough because Arkin is trying to save each one of these family members, and every time he tries, they die in some god-awful way. The dad gets tortured while being strapped to a chair, and then he's tied with his feet to the ceiling and his guts are splaying out on the floor. The trophy wife is in the bathtub, and then the collector kills her. The teenage daughter comes home from a date. She gets nailed to a wall. All that's left is the child daughter And she's hiding somewhere in the house, allegedly, but Arkin, every time he goes to find her or like call her name, nothing. Well, this was sad. He looked in her bedroom for her, but the entirety of the floor had been painted in some kind of yellow acid, and that included the cat. The family cat was stuck to the floor in this sticky acid, and Arkin tries to save the cat by picking it up off the floor, and strips of his flesh are coming off, and he flings the cat out the window, but the window was rigged, so the window comes crashing down onto the cat, slicing the cat in half. Listen, I don't care how fake that stuffed animal is, it breaks a part of my soul, and it hurts. It hurts. As if Fluffy hadn't gone through enough. God. So Arkin finally escapes the house, only to then hear someone banging on the window. He looks up at the second-story window and sees the child daughter, and she's banging on the window for him to come back and save her. Oh man, I was like, just fucking leave her. Like, you did everything in your power. You tried scouring the earth for her. You looked everywhere. You called her name when you shouldn't be yelling at all, because the collector guy will hear you. And this bitch doesn't come out? Like, well, fuck it. You snooze, you lose. You're stuck there. Welcome to hell, bitch. God. Arkin, being the anti-hero that he is, he runs back into the house, ends up saving the girl, narrowly escapes when the house goes up in flames. We're all presuming, oh, the collector's dead, the girl's alive, Arkin's alive, everyone's good. Arkin goes away in an ambulance. Everything seems fine. He wants to call his wife. He made it. It's before midnight somehow. And then, boom, the ambulance flies. Some car hit the ambulance. Oh wait, who's in the car? It's the collector. Oh no. On to the collection. 3 young people go into a secret underground club. Elena, played by Emma Fitzpatrick, her friend and her friend's brother. They walk in, they have a hoot of a time, they're dancing, they're drinking, having a grand old time, when Elena sees her boyfriend necking with another girl. What a bitch. She's completely distraught. She's like, all right, well, I'm going to go find an empty room to cry in. She finds an empty room, an almost empty room. What else is in the room? Oh, a box. A box, a chest, much like the one the collector had. Things really ramp up here, like within the first 5 minutes. She unlocks the chest, which triggers this horrific, gigantic device, comes down from the ceiling of the club, of the main part of the club, and starts slicing and dicing every single person in that club. This club was packed. It kills everyone, every last soul, except the people who ran off down a different hallway, but then those hallways are rigged, so those people are dead, including cheater boyfriend, who got his. Yeah. So we immediately start with a mass slaughter. Oh, who was in the chest? Arkin! He's back? Yes, Josh Stewart as Arkin comes back. He's covered in blood and injuries, so he's sent to the ER. He's in the hospital recovering when him and his wife are reunited, and he thanks her for the vase of flowers by his bedside. Oh wait, she didn't give him those. Who are they from? The collector. I kind of love this part. Arkin demands his wife take his daughter and stay with her mother. And she just goes, no, no. Like she's constantly like, no, I won't do it. And he's like, you have to. It's the only way. We have to keep you safe. And she just keeps saying no so fervently. No, no. And like out of nowhere, she's like, okay, you really wore her down. All right. Meanwhile, Elena has been trapped in her own box. She is unbelievably handy. She rips off pieces of her clothing into a long strip of fabric with like a hook at the end, swings it out of like a hole in the chest. The fabric latches onto the lock and unlocks the chest from the outside. How and what and why? So she tries to find a way out, and she ends up letting this other girl out of a chest as well, but there's something off about her. Back with Arkin, the cops have come, but they're striking a deal with him. They have some guy with them who knows Elena. He like helped raise her or something. He makes a deal with Arkin. He says, you're gonna help us get her out of this abandoned building with this collector guy. And Arkin agrees to help them, but he says, I will not go inside. I will help you, but I will not go inside the building. Of course, he goes inside the building because they're like, no, we're gonna point guns at you until you do what we tell you. So that was healthy. They stumble across these humans who are barely human. I mean, they're barely human at all. They have injuries, they're covered in blood and dirt, and there's needles all over the floor. So they've clearly been drugged until they're just gone. And they're now the collector's like zombie army in a really weird way. So that's cool. So like they're trying to kill people who are trying to escape. It's very odd. It's very bizarre. It felt very video game-y. So now I'm wondering if there's a video game based on this movie, because that, it feels video gamey, right? So we have to up the ante from the last movie, right? So it's Arkin, the group of cops, I guess, and Elena. Elena is alone through most of it. She's just proving how much of a badass she is. Like, she's just being incredibly clever and stealthy and quiet and like missing all these different rigged devices, like just being incredible. Throughout this intense game of cat and mouse, these people are forced to navigate these rigged torture devices around every corner, gradually losing members of the crew, but Elena and Arkin stick through it till the end. They actually only escape by getting the attention of these two people trying to keep warm by a fire outside, and Arkin shoots at them to get their attention, actually to get them to call the cops. So then the police cars come and an ambulance, and they see hell is happening. So at the end, the building is basically completely on fire. Elena is reunited with her dad, played by Christopher McDonald. Arkin is safe, and the collector is allegedly dead. I mean, he was in the building when it was on fire. So, dead? Question mark? But wait. Oh no. There's his mask on the ground. Where did he go? Cut to black. Oh shit. Now we're in someone's house. Whose house are we in? It's a pretty nice house. Oh, it's the collector. What? He lives a very normal life in this normal house. That's really weird. Okay. Whoa, there's a box, like one of the ones that he kept, but he didn't put it there. Who put it there? Oh my God. There's Arkin. Arkin puts a gun to his head, and he says, I'm not gonna kill you. I'm gonna do everything you did to me, and then I'm gonna kill you. Roll credit. Now for my unapologetic review. It was fine. Let's start with The Collector. It didn't wow me. Now, this movie came out in 2009. By this point, there have been 6 Saw movies. Arguably, this franchise's competition in terms of 2000s gore horror films. The early 2000s, in terms of horror, and this is a broad generalization, are all about effects, gore, and being edgy in some way. There was always some kind of edginess to them. Always upping the ante from the last movie. So I understand how this movie fits in the time period of these horror movies. It just doesn't have the same zest that the Saw movies have. Like, Saw has Jigsaw, who's iconic, right? And this elaborate connection between the victims. Ironically here, the writer and director of The Collector helped write Saw 4. So we see why he went this direction when he wrote his own horror movie, right? With Saw, you get it. You understand the assignment. With The Collector, I was constantly asking, what's the catch? What's the big MO? Is there some horrible secret he's uncovering? Is there some underlying? Is there some underlying commentary like I'm just not picking up here? I mean, he did attack a wealthy family, so maybe he just doesn't like rich people, which, like, who does? Stop buying tiny dogs. It's weird. Maybe they had it coming. I would have liked a reason why, but also with films so heavily reliant on gore and creative torture devices, it's not so much about the story, and you just kind of have to accept that. I did really appreciate Josh Stewart's character. He's an anti-hero, but he's also an underdog. He has good intentions. He's trying to support his family. He was a good protagonist, and I was rooting for him the entire time through both movies. Overall, the film is missing a dynamic element for me. Man fights man, cat and mouse. Not all that intriguing. Lots of great effects and means of torture, to be true. Fish hooks. Am I right? Fuck. But for me as a writer, I would have liked a little more effort there. However, the fish hooks will haunt me for the rest of my life. The Collection. I liked this one better. I don't normally like sequels over originals, but I liked this one more. Why, you ask? Say it with me. 2 words. Final girl. Emma Fitzpatrick is a fucking badass. She just proves over and over, yeah, I'm as smart and wily and resourceful as the next guy. She was the best part of this film. This movie kind of proves my point I was making earlier, where 2000s movies just have to be bigger, better, stronger, faster. We start off this film with a mass slaughtering, already upping the ante within the first 5 minutes. Also, I'm just imagining, like, he rigged that giant slice and dice machine at the club. Did he start the club? Did he, like, build an entire secret underground club just to, like, get people to come, and then he, like, killed them all except for 2 people, 3 people? Did he have, like, flyers? Did he have to, like, put up flyers around town like, hey, come to my secret club, it's so cool, you won't die, I promise? Why would you even say that? That's so weird. I'm not gonna kill you. I really liked that we learned more about the collector in this one because I had so many questions after the first film. He clearly views people as bugs, or at least something to collect, like dissect and collect, but only certain people. Everyone else he can exterminate. Clearly a sociopath. This film also answered another question I had, which was, they call him the collector, and in the first film, we only see one box with one man inside. You have one guy. That's not much of a collection. What are you doing? Who are you? What? Where's the collection? You're the collector. So now we actually see the other people he's collecting. One thing that made me laugh about this movie was like the fish hooks in the first movie that was so prominent to me, and then in the sequel they don't recreate the fish hooks. They have one giant fish hook. And I was like, oh yes, this again proves my point about heightening the stakes, you know. Everything has to be bigger, crazier, whatever. It was very funny. There is more of a story here, especially with the introduction of Emma Fitzpatrick's character, Elena. But even then, we don't learn that much about her. We learn she has a boyfriend, she has a potentially overprotective father, and she and her father got in a terrible car accident when she was a child, which gave him, I think, like a bum leg, but that's all we know, and none of that is exceptionally important to the story. So it was like nice to have that background information, but it wasn't imperative. But, you know, a through line of these movies is they're about father-daughter relationships. You know, it's nice. It's sweet. All right. It's time to rate these movies. I give The Collector a 2.5 out of 5. The Collection a 3.5. They had to up the ante, and they did. They get a whole 1 point higher than the last. Well, before I go start a new collection of my own, here's a spooky reminder that I have a Patreon. If you want exclusive horror content, you got it. And thank you to my current Patreon members. You guys are awesome, and I'm incredibly grateful for you. And thank you to my Patreon member who suggested this movie review. It was really fun. The movies are fun. I'm just a tough critic. But yeah, tell me in the comments what you guys thought. Do these movies hit the same way the Saw movies hit for you? Is it totally different scale for you? Tell me what you think about The Collector and The Collection. Well, that's it from me. Thank you for watching. Please don't forget to like, comment, follow, and subscribe. Follow me on Instagram and Letterboxd to see what I'm watching and what I'm rating. Bye, babe.